Heya Cryptozens, welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter. My name is Nikodemus and we do crypto news analysis nightly at 10 p.m. And keep in mind, none of this should be considered financial advice. And it's Wednesday, February 1st, 2023. And we're going to start with some legal news again today. U.S. District Judge Paul Engelmeyer is the judge in charge of a class action lawsuit. And this lawsuit saw former Coinbase customers accuse Coinbase of selling them unregistered securities. In addition, it accused Coinbase of failing to register as a broker-dealer. Well, in a filing produced today, Judge Engelmeyer rejected those claims. This is in Underwood v. Coinbase Global. The case, filed in the Southern District of New York, also named CEO Brian Armstrong as a defendant. Now, the judge decided to throw the case out because of the plaintiff's claims in their amended complaint. The judge said those changes, quote, added numerous allegations that directly contradicted their initial complaint. And while this is some good news for Coinbase, their troubles aren't quite over. They're still named in other class action lawsuits, including in Georgia and in New Jersey. The UK peeled back the curtain on their impending legislation. On February 1st, the UK Treasury published a consultation paper. This paper is full of stricter rules for investing. So now we're getting our first look at what they want to do with crypto regulations. And it's clear from the outset that this is intended to be a comprehensive framework. While some countries are introducing crypto legislation in stages, the UK government produced a broad framework. This document covers topics including regulations on crypto service providers and lending platforms. Also, there are sections on requirements, customer protection, disclosures, and preventing market abuse. Now, almost as if he were ignoring the previous year, the Economic Secretary to the Treasury, Andrew Griffith, said that he hopes for, quote, clear, effective, timely regulation and proactive engagement with industry. And the crypto industry seems to be giving the bill the nod of approval. Ian Taylor is the board advisor of Crypto UK. He put out a statement that his group would be pushing for legislation that is, quote, fit for purpose. He said, quote, as the voice of the UK's crypto sector, we welcome this positive step toward greater regulatory clarity. Given the provisions within the proposed legislation, consultation with the industry could not be more critical. So, what's in the bill? Compliance is certainly on the table, if you're an exchange anyway. In fact, stepping up those efforts are going to be important because operating a crypto exchange is going to be regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority more closely than just enforcing anti-money laundering requirements. If you want to run a crypto exchange and you want to serve the citizens of the UK, you're going to have to give up the details of your operation. What is your risk management? What do your financial resources look like? Among other requirements, you, as the exchange, will be responsible for devising control systems to spot and eliminate market abuse. If you're a lender, you're going to be under the microscope too. Like the exchanges, you're going to need FCA authorization too. Now, part of that comes from following the rules on managing money. And following the new money management rules is going to be important for crypto custodians too. Coins traded on a UK exchange will have to follow traditional finance rules. Traditional means things like insider dealing and market manipulation. Crypto is subject to the already existing rules that are in the Financial Services and Market Acts of 2000. And they're also looking at the stables too, at least as far as algorithmic stablecoins. Now remember, stablecoins are getting the legislative treatment already. That's in the Financial Services and Markets Bill. But they're calling out the algorithmic stablecoins specifically. The UK Treasury states, quote, activities related to so-called algorithmic stablecoins should be subject to the same requirements as for unbacked crypto assets. So in these new rules, ICOs, initial coin offerings, will probably end up a lot like security offerings. It will be the responsibility of the exchange to make sure that they've done their research, and it's up to the exchanges to make sure the admission and disclosure documents are filed properly. That said, the more complex aspects of public offerings like the prospectus documents won't be required. They also acknowledge that they're going to need some help getting their arms around things like DeFi, staking, and mining. You can see the damage done by Celsius and Terraform Labs and FTX. The fingerprints of those bad actors can be seen all over this proposed legislation presented here today. I think most of the proposals are probably okay, but it seems like that some of it is more of a reaction to current events than a clear-eyed view on how to regulate the space. Time will tell. And this regulation is sorely needed. One independent investigation says that the UK is home to at least 168 bad actor companies. Now, these are people accused of running crypto scams as well as running foreign exchange scams. And frankly, it's probably much more than 168. This information comes to us from an investigation between the Observer and the Bureau of Investigative Journalism. In their January 29th report, they said organized crime is moving to the UK due to their, quote, lax regulation. And they got that 168 number by cross-referencing suspected shell companies with fraud reports on the web. Now, about half are what they call pig butchering scams. Now, a pig butchering scam comes in a few varieties. For example, some have a romantic element, but not so much in these cases. Generally speaking, a pig butchering scheme is where the scammer builds a trust relationship with the victim, then they get access to a shared wallet, but they don't strike yet. Now, they show that they're quote-unquote trustworthy, and they leave that money alone. They continue to build up that trust and fatten that wallet, hence the name. Once the victim has put enough money in the wallet, the bad actor makes off with the funds. So they interviewed a bunch of these victims, and the victims here are saying that they only trusted the company because they were based in the UK. They said if those companies had been based elsewhere, they'd never have trusted the scammers. And it's not like getting a new license is prohibitively expensive. Registering a company in the UK costs less than $15, and you don't even have to show ID. Okay, you have to provide an address, but you can just tell them what the address is. So what's happening is these guys are just giving random residential addresses. Now, the UK's Financial Conduct Authority has been working to crack down on this stuff. As of January 10th, 2020, all businesses working on crypto have to register, and they've been stringent with their requirements. But a lot of companies in the UK are just operating unregistered. And we've talked about it several times on this show, about how few companies have even gotten registered. Most just quit partway through the process, if they start at all. So maybe these new rules will help address that issue. The judge in Sam Bankman-Fried's criminal case is tightening up on Sam's bail requirements. Now, Sam has been ordered not to have any further contact with current or former FTX or Alameda employees, at least not if he wants to stay free just a little while longer. Today, February 1st, Judge Lewis Kaplan of the Southern District of New York forbids Sam from contacting FTX or Alameda employees, quote, except in the presence of counsel. Not only that, but the judge said he can't contact anyone using encrypted messaging apps. That includes Signal. Now, this is the same judge that handed down Sam's bail requirements to begin with. Judge Kaplan said basically, Sam presents a bigger risk than he thought. He said, quote, that risk, the court finds, is clearly and convincingly sufficient to warrant the imposition of additional conditions pending the full argument of cross-applications. Now, Kaplan cited something we've talked about recently. Sam likes those apps that are encrypted and that auto-delete your messages, like Slack and Signal. And he referenced that Sam told Caroline Ellison the future legal cases would be more difficult because all the documentation gets auto-deleted away. And it wasn't lost on the judge that Sam used Signal to contact Ryan Miller. So that's the communications issue. Still at question is Sam's access to the FTX and Alameda funds. It was presented in a filing this week that Sam contacted the present CEO of FTX, John J. Ray III, and he wanted to discuss ways to access those funds. Arguments on that matter will be heard on February 7th. Now, as far as the bankruptcy goes, that's still ongoing. Sam's family are getting subpoenas for information and documentation. FTX has subpoenaed Sam's brother, Gabriel Bankman-Fried, as well as his mother, Barbara Fried. What's going on is FTX is looking to collect some assets that belong to the company. And while some people are cooperating, most of Sam's inner circle have not been forthcoming. In fact, only two parties, Sam's father, Joseph Bankman, and Constance Wang are cooperating at all. Wang was the chief operating officer at FTX Trading. Now, part of the problem is FTX's sloppy record keeping and shoddy security controls, because that's making it difficult for investigators to locate those stakeholder assets. Now, as far as Sam himself goes, remember how he was promising to help customers and he was going to explain what happened? Well, yeah, the filing take aims at him over that as well, given his silence. Quote, "Despite these statements, Mr. Samuel Bankman-Fried has not responded to or complied with the requests on a voluntary basis. As a result, a court-authorized subpoena is necessary." And so that's Sam. Gary Wang and Caroline Ellison are both not cooperating. Barbara has ignored the requests altogether. Now, Nishad Singh and Gabriel Bankman, they haven't provided any meaningful engagement, and they're not cooperating with the ongoing investigations either. And we need to keep in mind, this is the bankruptcy hearing. Sam, Caroline, Gary, they're all facing criminal charges as well, but lack of cooperation in this case is in regards to the bankruptcy hearing. And one of the things in the filing was the argument that courts do this all the time, ordering executives to produce information in bankruptcy cases. Just because this is a big spectacle, there's no reason for this case to be treated any differently. And so this subpoena is looking for information on, quote, substantial additional estate assets. These are assets that were transferred in the run-up to FTX's implosion. Now hang with me until the end of this story because, like everything else these days, there's an FTX connection. A couple of crypto addresses were blacklisted today. The U.S. Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control has linked one Bitcoin and one Ethereum address to sanctions evasion. So, specifically, they're saying Igor Zemenkov and his son were part of a network. This network composed of organizations and individuals that tried selling self-defense equipment to, quote, third country governments. So, Igor's son, Jonathan, was tied to two of the addresses. This would later link to his father and a company known to be Russia's intermediary for arms exports. So you see what's going on, right? They're saying that the son helped his old man out with some money laundering, trying to get around sanctions. The company sells small arms for Russia. Igor and his son use Bitcoin and Ethereum to launder the money. Seems pretty straightforward. Now, OFAC put out a press release on this. In that release, they claim both Igor and Jonathan had direct correspondence to sanctioned Russian firms. They said, quote, "They have additionally been involved in multiple deals for Russian cybersecurity and helicopter sales abroad and have engaged directly with the potential clients to enable sales of Russian defense material," which sounds impressive. Much more impressive than it actually is. At present, both wallets are empty. The Bitcoin wallet has never had more than 0.01 Bitcoin in it. Now, the Ethereum address, that's had 5,400 Ethereum go through it at one point or time or another, but it hasn't been used in almost a year. But this may end up being a link in the chain, because the Ethereum address received funds from a wallet that's a bit more interesting. One that Arkham Intelligence said was, quote, a large wallet that has very active in OTC trading. And the FTX connection? That wallet they're talking about received money from Alameda Research. And no, I don't know why. And that's going to do it for us tonight. I want to thank you, my listeners, because when you stop listening, I will stop talking. If you like tonight's show, then please like, follow, subscribe. Give me a review or a rating, something to help other people find their way to this show. We'll see you tomorrow night.